Hello, everyone. I'm Ariana Soto. I'm the Deputy Director of Coding It Forward. We are a nonprofit for early career technologists creating new pathways into public interest technology. I am thrilled to be here with you today to cap off a great day of programming and conversations. I hope that you've had a chance to make meaningful connections, explore opportunities to serve your community, and to better understand the positive impact you can have on people's lives through government service. I had the chance to be running Coding It Forward's booth today and got to meet a lot of early career technologists today. So really excited to be capping off today's programming. So thank you for joining us to wrap up today's event. This afternoon, we are lucky to close out today's event with a conversation with Louisiana Secretary for Children and Family Services, Terri Ricks. Hello, Terri, welcome. I'll get to a more detailed introduction in a moment, but know that Terri has been a key force in expanding the department's use of technology to communicate with families and communities during heightened times of need, including Hurricane Katrina and the COVID pandemic. She's a true champion for human-centered services and an advocate for the most vulnerable. We are so grateful you're here with us today, Secretary Ricks. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. What a great.
Yeah, for sure. For everyone joining us, our conversation today will last 45 minutes and will be held in a fireside chat style. So I'll pose some initial questions to get the conversation going, but we'll quickly open it up to all of you. So please feel free to post your questions for Terri in the chat as you have them throughout our conversation, and we will be saving time, lots of time at the end to answer those questions for you. But without further ado, to introduce Terri. Terri Porsche Ricks was appointed Secretary of the Department of Children and Family Services in December 2022. She previously served as Deputy Secretary since 2016. She has over 2 decades of legal, financial, human resources, policy, and management experience. An accomplished legal and administrative executive with a proven ability to lead and manage complex organizations. Ricks served as Undersecretary of the Department of Social Services from 2004 to 2008. She has also served as the department's executive leader regarding disaster recovery matters, helping shape Louisiana's disaster recovery in the area of health and social services, and gathering the attention and support of federal partners for recovery. Could not think of a better person to close out today's events, as everyone here has been spending time talking to different organizations, learning a little bit more about what work looks like in this space. Excited to have you join us, and would love to start by having you tell us a little bit about your journey into public service and what inspired you to join. I think that's always one of the most interesting things for folks to hear as they get started in their own career. And if I've learned anything, it's that everyone has a different journey, and it can really look like anything and everything in between. So would love to hear about yours.
Well, thank you so much, Ariana. I have to say that in the earlier part of my life, I was kind of a little bit in and out of all sorts of service and jobs. I've actually worked at a casino as a dealer. I've actually worked, and that was after graduating from LSU and with a bachelor's degree in psychology. Later decided to go to law school, and after that worked at a very large law firm, and then recognized that I really want a very meaningful work, and the work that I was doing did not feel that way. And so as I matriculated through, I think what pulled me into government work is to recognize that we really are serving the people, our neighbors. And when I look around, it's really easy to decide like, hey, I want to volunteer at the food bank. But today I get a chance to feed people very differently. And I think service from how can I address the things that I see in my community, and how can I help the people that I see that need help, and how can I do it better than I see. So I think public service is a space where people who have ideas and skills to make things better, that's a really, really great place to be. And so I do have, like I said, my story goes in and out, weaves in and out. I've actually have a law practice that I go to when I need a rest. But then at the same time, I've worked in housing finance, public finance, social services. And I think if you're a problem solver, there's a lot of different places that you will feel welcome.
For sure. Thanks for sharing that. I always love to hear what people started and what other things they were doing before they landed in their current role. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Kind of on a similar vein to what you're saying about being able to serve, I think a lot of folks who are coming to this space today are obviously here for a reason, interested in a very particular type of work and the ability to serve with their skills in government. Since starting your career as an eligibility determinations examiner at DSS, and having since spent 20 years in family services leadership, you've had a front row seat to government's transition to the digital age. And I think that's something that's likely very interesting to a lot of the folks joining us today. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you think has changed? And what do you think has stayed the same in the time that you've been able to serve?
Well, thank you so much. I think the thing that has stayed the same is that people help people. That's the thing that has stayed the same. However, the manner that we help people is very different. 20 years ago, when I had a mother and a child in my office to determine their eligibility for a SOBRA program, long ago gone, I could see this person in front of me. I could smell them. I could touch them. I could laugh with them. I could see the laugh lines on their faces are the worry lines. And so one of the things that we have to do today is to figure out how to make sure we have that type of connectivity to the people that we're serving so they don't turn into numbers or files. In particular, the more that we're connecting electronically with families, it's both, just a great opportunity, but also it could be something that we have to work on. How do we how can we, all of us, figure out ways to lessen the burden of the experience of coming to ask for help, which is a very difficult thing for anybody to do. And so when it's time on your worst day, or when you're finally got the courage to decide, I want to do something different, I want to get some change the course of my life and my child's life, we need to have a way that we can truly connect with people. And in large part, they're not going to be in our offices.
For sure. And I love you speaking to that human impact of it. I think one circumstance in which the impetus, I feel like sometimes is a bit more on government to meet people where they're at, is in cases of natural disasters where folks really don't, they just need the help and they need it immediately. You've helped the state of Louisiana navigate several disasters, including Hurricane Katrina and the pandemic. Would love if you could, again, just speak to that human impact of your work, and how that really became apparent to you through those disasters.
Oh, thank you so much. COVID-19, in as much as it put all of us in a space where we've never been before, those of us who are problem solvers also found a lot of opportunity to increase our service delivery opportunities. But we talk about a moment in time when the largest number of persons ever were in a space to apply for SNAP benefits. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is a fantastic federal program that meets the needs of many of are either situationally in need or generationally in need, or perhaps an inability to work. Most people, though, are supplementing. And when we all moved into a space where everybody went home, not everybody, Ariana, had a job like mine that was paying them to work at home. Some people lost connectivity to their jobs altogether. And so many people who had never applied for SNAP benefits before found themselves in a position of needing benefits. And so I think one of the things that was super important to us was, how do we reach people in a way that is important to them? And then secondly, how can we make it a safe space for people to come? And so when we're looking, we pull together a group of people. Some of them were already using SNAP. Some of them had never used SNAP before, but were now eligible. And we pull them in a group and we ask them, like, when you get this communication, how does it feel to you? What does it look like? And you know what we found? One of the older people that we had worked, that we were getting information from, using her lived experience, said, your text is too small, this color is not good for me. And it was things that we were not looking for at the time. But the other thing that they got is they helped us to build language around the benefits of and so we were able, because of some work we had done with Code for America and using text messages, we were able to send text messages to communicate very specifically with people changes that were being made to their case or eligibilities being open to them. They would get that information exactly where our research with Code for America showed us that they wanted a text message. They didn't want an email. They didn't want snail mail. They wanted a text message. And we used that in multiple ways during COVID. We had first, Ariana, begun to realize that text messaging was good for people in the great floods of 2016. In Louisiana, almost every parish in our state, we call them parishes, y'all call them counties, were flooded. It was unequal disaster. Everybody remembers Hurricane Katrina. A lot of people don't remember more people. Though what happened at that time is a child services worker was standing in water that was at her calf in her own home, making phone calls to find her caseload of foster children because so many people had evacuated due to the flood. And coming out of that, we said, there is no way we're going to allow that to happen again. And so we started using text messages to communicate with the foster children and the foster families. Then we did this research with Code for America and saw we really can turn this tool into something great. But it took a lot of different pieces to get there. So I could talk a lot about what we've learned in natural disasters, the COVID experience, but I'll let you take me there if you want me to go there any further.
No, I thank you for diving into the texting. Would love to hear how you saw, so you're saying texting came out of Hurricane Katrina and learning that that could be a really useful tool. And then you all did some fantastic work for Code for America and were really one of the early adopters of texting as a way to communicate benefits. Could you tell us kind of the connection point between that learning during Hurricane Katrina and then working with Code for America and finding that texting could actually be a helpful way to communicate benefits as well to constituents?
Absolutely. I think the journey from Hurricane Katrina to today kind of takes us all on a journey. 16, when texting in Louisiana down, and only those who were texting were able to even communicate. And so text messages sort of rose as a great contingency. The 2016 floods, going a little bit further, then helped us to see how we could use text messages to do our work, right? Like one aspect of our work, it rose like, oh, we could use text messages this way, but it was still very internal because foster families are basically like internal, right? But then when Code for America came in, I think it was about 2018. I'll have to be honest with you, I didn't know who they were, and I didn't understand that there was such organizations that would bring technology to government with a lens both for government as well as those we serve. And that it started off with research. And so we knew that we wanted data-driven service delivery. We were very interested in what our clients had to say about their experiences with us. And we were also very interested in understanding how can we make the experience of an employee better and make them feel like they are actually checking the box on, man, I love this job because I want to help people and I'm helping people. And so the research that Code for America did with us, sitting with team, this was so needed. And we were in a space where we were just coming out of the floods. So we were inundated, but they worked with us. And they showed us technologists from around the world, the different work that was happening in different places, and then helped us specifically with the work of the safety net. So in our La Message pilot, we began sending text messages directly to all Snap clients. And so we were doing that. So when the start of the pandemic happened, we were already sending text messages. So then when the pandemic happened, we were able to send text messages to all sorts of people for all sorts of reasons. So we sent nearly, from that time, Ariana, about 80 million text messages. And let me just say, it takes a lot of people and a lot of technology to make that happen. So one, we've got people working with data, right? Pulling the right lists from our eligibility system to contact. We've got people in communications who are understanding how to best use language to get across the right message to the right people. Then we have those who are entering into the system. And then, of course, whenever there's a change that the federal government brings down, technologists are in our eligibility system, making those changes in real time. So what I've learned through this time, and we sent 80 million text messages, right, in that time to 675,000 different people. So when you're pushing a button with that many people receiving a text message, you got to make sure that you're sending the right message to the right people. And so in Louisiana, and particularly in the Department of Children and Family Services, this is what we've learned.
Person who's interested in policy needs to understand how technology matters.
Every person who's interested in administration needs to understand how we must use technology, and every person who wants to work in technology gets to be a part of the actual service delivery. And so it's a very good place for all of us who really want to help people to be. We need each other, and more, we might start off with one set of skills, but we gain the others along the way. So really, we're all moving in a space where we understand both our programs, our policy, and the technology. But I have more of the programs and policy, but now I understand the technology.
We have a big
To then also want to know how they can, feed people by understanding the programs and policy. So the testing example, we've seen this roll out even around the country now. And we were so happy to be able to pick up a Government Changemaker Award at Code for America's Summit this May, not only because of the text message to the SNAP, but recently we sent text messages to people who needed a reminder that they should fill out their IRS forms to get the child tax credit. And from one text message, millions of dollars came into these households directly. And so then we realized human connection happens today in many ways, and the technology part is extremely important.
For sure. And what a fantastic testament to just the power of technology when there are people there to get it executed and done. But I wish someone would have grabbed that quote. Hopefully someone on our team wrote it down, what you were saying about the intersections of policy and technology and the people and how it all comes together. Appreciate you diving into the text message example for us. And what a long journey it's been to find one way that you can reach people and then continue to use it years down the line, I think is really awesome. Always love to hear stories of just how you've continued to improve and innovate and iterate on really great work that happened many years ago. But I think the texting example is just one of the ways that Louisiana is leading the country in digital service delivery innovations. Would love to hear from you. What else are you excited about?
Are some other things
going on. So for example, one way that technology allows us to do some innovative things, and I'm not even sure that we talked about this in the beginning, Ariana, but working with food nutrition services, we just received a grant that will allow at a point of sale, somebody who's getting fruit to get, say, $1.25 worth of fruit for every dollar that they're spending, because that has a goal for multiple goals.
Food helps
the local farmers, better nutrition. But if it wasn't for technology, right, being able to figure out how we get those points of sale to get to 125 over $1, we wouldn't even be able to consider such a thing because it would be too burdensome. In the same way, as we continue to look at how can we make life better for those who are in need of services, we've been working with Code for America again. Our next project with Code for America involves reminding recipients to provide required documentation and then allowing them to upload that directly from their phone. The research, again, says that people need to figure out how to do life from their phone. You and I have seen perhaps people who may be suffering from a lack of a home right now, but they have a telephone, because really that is the quintessential way that people are communicating and doing life business right now. And so when we're talking about providing verification documents such as pay stubs or identification. These are an essential step in the process of applying for SNAP benefits. But if there's a delay in providing those documents, or if there's a lack of understanding of the requirements, this will sometimes prevent applicants from securing the benefits. So I'll give you an example. From July 2021 to June 2022, more than 100,000 SNAP applications were denied due to a failure
to submit their documents.
So DCFS is launching a new texting campaign reminding people to submit the required documents. And in this pilot, several of them will be able to upload their documents directly into from their phone into their application. So we're doing a true pilot to determine which way works better. Some of them will not get the link to the uploader, some of them will, which will allow us to have much better data to see if the pilot with the link will actually help better. This also gives us an opportunity to directly communicate with people that is hard for Louisiana to communicate with, and that is our growing multilingual population, or different than English lingual population, right? So this is a multilingual digital document uploader. It will help us, the staff, to do a better job of communicating to people. They'll get it right on their phones, tablets, or computers, whatever is working for them. And this will be something that we will be able to tell you guys more about, or maybe some of the people that are working, looking for work here will be a part of it. So we're so excited that Code for America
Lab is
helping
multi-year
initiative come true for us. This
There's
more than
probably about 1 million people.
1.1 in 4 Louisianians we're serving in one way or the other. So this is really going to make a big difference for the people in Louisiana.
Most definitely. I started this by asking what you're excited about, but now you're having me leave being really excited about this too. Joining you in that excitement, that's incredible. And I'm so excited to continue to see what comes out of that. And the reach that you're going to be able to have is really quite impressive. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I'm sure that lots of people listening in are also excited to hear about that work as well. Would love to zoom us out just a little bit and bring us back to the folks who are joining us in this space today. Some of the technologists here have been thinking about government service for a long time, while others are just exploring the idea for the first time. Lots of the people I spoke to in Coding It Forward's booth are folks just finding their way into public service. Regardless of where they are in their journey, the number one question that we hear from technologists considering public service is, can I really have an impact? How would you answer this question? Can folks entering this space really have an impact? I feel like we all have a good sense of what your answer will be given this fabulous stories that you've just shared with us, but would love to give you an opportunity to kind of tie it up in a neat bow, perhaps.
Sure, thank you. What I hope is that people recognize that in an organization that puts people first, everyone is important. And every role might be a little bit different, but moving toward the same goal is like super important, especially when you see the goal is helping your neighbor and helping your community get better. And in all of our services, you know, I will tell you that I run into a lot of people who don't like poor people. I don't know what to say. They want people just to get it right, get on their horse and move on out of here, or pull up their bootstraps. And do you know that in government service, there's room for that person to work here too? And so in when we're looking at government services, no matter what your political bent is, no matter if you are a problem solver, you will find fulfillment in that, and particularly knowing that
Like poor people.
I hope that's not
who you are, but if that's who you are,
it is where it is. But what can happen is you can make a difference in how to help poor people not be poor. And it focuses on the economy and the community. And so all of us will have a place. And I will say this to you, government is a good employer. And I think we can't take away the fact that you're looking for a good employer. When you're anybody looking for a job should be interviewing their employer. Government comes with great benefits. Government comes with a lot of government programs come with pension, good insurance, and stability, paid time off. Those things are important. The longer you work in a place, the more you gain relationships, and the more you have the ability to really make a difference. The longer you're here, the longer I've been around, the more I learn about the technology. The longer the technologists are around, the more they learn about the programs and policies. So in the end, we're all moving in the best way. So it is extremely fulfilling to know that you are helping your community, the economy, and people. No matter what your bent is with what comes to politics, you really can find a space in government that allows you for your why to make a difference. So I hope that, like in the Department of Children and Family Services, we have what we call a PPMO group, a project management group. That's a place where really the most technologists and policy meets. In Louisiana, there's an Office of Technology Services, which is another department. They're always looking for people there to compete, right, with the other technology services. So there's always a place. There's a good way to grow in work in government. And so technologists can really find ways. Cybersecurity is super important. Technology, even from just building, a platform like you guys have today, a really great platform, by the way, to creating systems that determine eligibility. There are so many ways that those of us who have the skills, that the people that you are reaching out to, and will find work that will fulfill them daily. And again, you'll just be able to focus on people, the needs of people.
Most definitely. Briefly pause us here to tell everyone joining us, if you have questions for Terri that you'd like to interject in this conversation, please feel free to put those in the chat, and we have some time now to take those. But Terri, so you're telling us a little bit about the impact folks can have in government. So the goal of today, obviously, is to get folks in those roles, to get them into government. What would your advice be for folks considering government service? What would your tip be for them to be successful in government? Sorry, that was a bit of a mouthful. So we get the folks in this room in seats, and what would you want them to know to be successful in the role once they are in it?
Absolutely. I'd say, we're all going to be better off if we stay in a. And so if we know that we can bring our full selves and everything that we've already set into a place and have that be immediately recognized and used, that's awesome. But when we stay in a place of a learner, then we keep learning the new technologies, but also the better ways of serving. So again, I think it's that space where we're becoming better people, constantly better services. I am the geek that believes that we really are serving the public, right? And so that just drives me. And so when we're thinking about that way, things that way in government, it will allow you to continue to evolve as a person, as a leader, in your skill set, to continue to do better and better work. And maybe it's about finding another problem or the root of a problem that maybe someone's not seen before. So what
we've been trying to build
at the Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services, we are a learning environment. So if we're gonna fail, let's learn from it, right? Let's do that on purpose. Let's learn from it and let's move forward. And those of us who are working all our journey, we try to be in the same space. So there's collaboration is super important. I think that sometimes finding jobs, and I really appreciate that you guys are doing this outreach to find the technologists and bring them to government. I guess sometimes it's a little bit hard navigating civil service systems and trying to figure out what job to apply for, or what in the world does that mean? I would like to tell people, like, if you're able to connect through your services, that's great. And if there's an organization that's not working with your service, don't be afraid to reach out to someone in the field that you want to work in and tell them, I would like to be considered to work there outside of the normal process. And then if there's anybody that you know that works at that organization, it's really helpful when we have somebody that can give us a thumbs up on your character. Character matters. And so if there's anything that you need to work on it, and work on it in a way that'll make you a better person, is always a better employee. So I think, for those of you who are looking for a place where you can, work well, that you can grow, you can make a difference, government will definitely allow you that opportunity, both, and I would say federal government, state government, and local government. And so I don't think one is better than the other. There's such an intersectionality between all of the government services as well as our nonprofit partners. And so I hope that got at what you were wanting me to get to, Ariana.
Yes, no, I think it's helpful to hear your perspective and to share that with folks who might be interested in getting involved in government. I think we get a lot of questions from folks about life after government service. You're obviously still in government, but can you tell us how you think about government service and how it fits into the arc of a technologist's career? For a lot of folks joining us today, they've had other careers and they're coming to government to be a technologist, or they're thinking about it as a step to the next thing. So how do you think about government service, and how do you think that it fits into a larger career arc? And earlier you shared just how it's fit into your career arc. So would love to hear a little bit from you about that.
Absolutely. As I said before, we're always going to be seeing, like, government cannot do really anything without partners. And so find a partner agency, whether it's, you're at a right now agency, you're interfacing with a government agency, and there might be an opportunity to move into the government agency, and or vice versa. You might find an opportunity to move into a partner agency. And so this is another good thing about state government in Louisiana. I can't say that I know how they all work, but my decades of civil service experience or state experience have come with breaks in between. I first started at the agency. I went back to law school. I started at a different state agency. I worked there for a while, came back to this agency, went back to another agency, and then did some practice in my law practice. And then initially came back into this role, which I've been in at this department now for the last 7.5 years. And so it doesn't stop you from moving to someplace else, but fortunately, when you put all that service together, Ariana, it yields an ability for me to retire from the state, having had experiences outside of the state. So I think, it goes to show that government really can be a really great employer. And it doesn't mean that you have to be in one spot, one agency forever. And so we have very good partners in Louisiana, DCFS, right? We work with our Office of Technology Services. We work with our Louisiana Department of Health. We work with the Department of Education, et cetera, et cetera. And so really working in government allows you the ability to transfer to other spaces and places. You learn one thing, you get credentials, you move over. There's a lot of professional development that comes with working with government too. So you don't have to be stagnant, and it's not like you're going to get there and then no longer be relevant. The one other thing I would say is that working in government also allows in some government spaces for you to do your dream job, which is be an entrepreneur on the side, so it gives you a stable space to create, to work, and then also allow you to time to be off in the evenings, on the weekends, and on holidays to do other things that you dream of doing, whether it's hobbies, having a great work-life balance with your family, or being an entrepreneur until this job is no longer the thing that you want to do. So it really does bring a lot of opportunity.
Thank you for that. Appreciate you diving into that. We spoke a lot about the work externally, the text messages, a lot of examples of how technology has helped you serve the community that you serve in Louisiana. Would love if you could speak to an example of how you've worked to expand the department's use of technology to communicate internally. So how has technology affected those working within your own department?
Thank you for asking that. And I want to also pick up, Angie had a question about being a long-term public service. What is your favorite story or surprise that you've learned from working with technologies that you didn't expect? Well, I have to say, and I'm going to put these two answers together. First is that technologists are people too. And so I'll say that because there can be some very good tension, right? Between my technology, the Office of Technology Services, and the Department of Children and Family Services, where I feel like I'm arm wrestling them, that my project is more important than anybody else's project, and I need it to be, at the top of the list. And so what I've learned is that our brothers, that's what I call them, they're mostly guys, but they're also very diverse with lots of women. So the brothers and sisters, I call them, at my sister agency at the Office of Technology Services, they so get it. They so get it. We actually had some crisis moments here recently, and I picked up the phone and called the CIO and said, we need some solutions right now. Get, somebody. They called one of our contractors in. They went on a drive. They went for the day with the child welfare workers to learn what impediments they were running into that we could fix immediately. They went out there and they came back and they were so amazed about what they found. And what I learned, and I love this, like, if you give people an opportunity to get all the way in this other seat with you, they will bring things to you that you might not have thought about before. So I love working with people, right? And so then again, you go, people help people, right? So the technologists are people too, and we know that. I do kind of feel like I arm wrestle with them sometimes, though. So sometimes I win, but anyway, sometimes I don't. But I will say, like, one of the things that we've been doing, Zoom has been amazing to us. Microsoft Teams. Internally, I started when I took this job, setting up Zooms with the staff. This allows me to talk to my staff like all over the state. Otherwise, only the people in that region would have access to me. But now, because of this, everybody has access. So the communication tools, the fact that pandemic allowed us to start figuring out how we can use DocuSign. Some of our technologists help us to figure out new routing ways to route our HR forms. People are no longer here, they can't sign them anymore. Sometimes it's as quickly as, let's just turn on DocuSign. Sometimes it's no, we need to figure out how the state can use this better. And so getting those minds in the same room where they understand like what we're trying to do. And then it's amazing just to see the people go, oh yeah, just like this and this. But for those of us who don't focus on that every day, we don't realize how quickly some things could be done. But after the hurricanes in 2020 and 2021, we had so many disaster SNAP issuances. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically food benefit for those who don't normally get SNAP, who have been so impacted by the natural disaster or other disaster that they now qualify for a benefit. It was because our technology services had worked on a solution for the DMV for electronic IDs, we were able to do a new way of issuing disaster SNAP solution done already in understanding identification. So there's so much knowledge in our OTS staff and our technologists that we need not only just bring them to the table and tell them like what problem we're trying to solve, or expose them to our work so that they can tell us that they can solve a problem that they might not even realize that we might even realize we're having.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. I want to take a question from the chat that I'm seeing from Janet, and then I have one last quick wrap-up question for you. So we'll try to get to both of those. And there is a question from Lindsay in the chat saying how she might be able to tell her colleagues at DCFS to encourage them about technology. I'm not sure we'll be able to get to that quick question, Lindsay, but maybe Terri can respond to you in the chat. And if not, I will say, I think all the stuff that Terri has shared with us today is a good place to start in just translating what kind of work can be done. But I will take us to Janet's question, which is, how do you go about finding the perfect starting role within government if you're new to navigating it and don't have any personal or professional connections there?
Well, I would say that we're all looking for good people. So if you reach out to HR or the division, you can usually find who's the division leader at a government agency by looking at their website, and reach out to them and say, hey, I would like to talk to you about working there. I can tell you what I do, and you can tell me, like, is there something there? So I would say have some conversations, and it's okay if you don't know them already. If there's need, I can have a conversation and understand what your skills are. I can think, oh my God, I could use somebody like that here and here. That might not translate to the job titles that are out there. So good conversations. You don't have to make a friend about letting them know that you're interested and you're able. The last thing I'll say will be for Lindsay is remind your people that that all the fun stuff that they do at home and socially can be applied in their work. And you could get in a conversation with them, since it doesn't make any sense when I'm sending my staff out and whatever tools they're using won't automatically fix an address or give them the ability to find an address, right? That's just something simple. And use every day for everything else, and say, we could use that same thing in your job, like just help them to see it. And I think that they'll realize that they are technologists too. They may need some pathways to bring that into their job, and believe that the leaders will allow change to their work to do that. And I think that a lot of us just have to kind of transfer knowledge that we have in one place and put it in another place and believe that our work can get better in that way. And I hope you will have some conversations with people like that, Lindsay.
Thank you for that. Wow, a marker of a great conversation, I think, is not realizing how much time has flown by. Thank you, Terri, for joining us today and for giving us so many fantastic stories from your own journey, from the work that's been done in Louisiana. I want to thank everyone joining us today for attending today's Tech2Gov hiring fair. We are so excited that you are excited about entering this space. When visiting booths today, if there was an agency or a department doing work that you're interested in, keep an eye on their websites for current and future roles to apply to. And if this is an exploratory phase in your career, consider keeping up with public interest technology movement by joining the Tech2Gov mailing list at tech2gov.org. Terri, I will give you the final word if you want to give everyone here a final call to action as we close out today's event.
So I think that, if you have stuck around this long, say you're being called. And a lot of us say that
government services, a little bit like being called. And
you should answer that call and come and give us a shot in government. We need you, actually. We need all your skills, all your brains, and all that energy that you
not only
to but to identify them. We might not realize how far back we are. So come and join us. We want to be an employer of choice. Government wants to be an employer of choice. And you'll find more and more opportunities to make us even better than we are. But I think you'll like it. You should give it a shot.
We'll close this out. Thank you so much, Terri. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's event. Take care and have a great rest of your weeks.
Thank you, Ariana. Bye, everybody.
Bye.